Welcome back to Power of Money, where we're providing you the resources to build wealth for the right reasons. Now, when we first spoke, I told you about my journey to building wealth for the right reasons, where I started out broke as a joke, and now I'm running successful businesses and actually chasing something that fulfills me. The second time we spoke, we talked about what good work is and how there's a belief that we need to work as long as possible to where we never have to work again. But we've lost context of what good work is and how that helps us attain and retain wealth over time. And today we're going to be talking about good money. Now, good work and good money are both part of the wealth equation. But in order to really understand money, you have to first understand what makes it useful and valuable. Now, there are 5 traits that the ideal form of money must possess. And the money that you use on an everyday basis must possess a majority of these traits so that it can be useful to you, not only today, but also to you 30 years from now. Let's look at trait number 1. Divisibility. This is simple. I need to be able to use the same thing to purchase a house that I'm going to use to purchase an orange. Now, the dollar bill that we utilize in America today, it has different denominations, but at the end of the day, it's the same dollar bill. And I can use it to go to my coffee shop and purchase a coffee, but then I can also transact and purchase $1 million home in California. Ultimately, it's divisible. It can be used to purchase small items as well as large items. The second trait that we talk about is portability. Now, portability is important because I need to be able to utilize my money in order to transact over large distances. I need to be able to take my time and energy, transform that into money, and then take it to another location so that I can transact and purchase things in that other place. Trait number 3 is durability. Will this thing that I'm transacting with lose value over time quickly? If I were to utilize a perishable good, call it a banana. If I were to use bananas as currency on day 1, yes, I may be able to give a fresh batch of bananas, purchase a coffee, and walk away. But at the end of the day, A, it doesn't fit divisibility. I'm not going to give a dump truck full of bananas in order to purchase a large item. But B, once I give those bananas to the person that's exchanging value with me, the bananas will degrade over time for them. They're going to have to either eat bananas or trade it very quickly thereafter. So you have to have something that can be traded multiple times, that durability, but also last for a long amount of time. The 4th trait corresponds to recognition. Can the money you're utilizing to exchange value be recognized? And then there's a second part. Can it be verified? The dollar bill is one of the most recognized forms of money today. You can take it to almost any country on the planet, and someone will know exactly what that dollar bill is, who issued that dollar bill, and they will most likely see value in that dollar bill. Now, beyond that, there are ways where you can verify whether or not that bill is legit. Can it be recognized? Can it be verified? And the final trait that good money possesses is scarcity. You want to know that the currency you're utilizing is to some degree special, and people can't just make it out of thin air. That goes back to that verifiability in the previous example. If anyone was just allowed to counterfeit and create dollar bills out of thin air, then ultimately the dollar bill itself wouldn't have value. The details aren't exact. I'll tell you a quick story. The details aren't exactly correct, but it is based on a true story. There's a village that lives on an island. And on this island, they don't use dollar bills. They use glass beads. These glass beads aren't made. They wash up on the shore. Nature makes them. And to some degree, they're pretty rare, just like gold is. Now, this village is working well. When the villagers are at the marketplace and they're exchanging value between each other, they purchase things with glass beads, they get things of value back. But lo and behold, a whole nother country shows up on the island and they say, hey, villagers, I want to transact with you. I want to buy something of value from you. So how can we exchange value? The villagers say, hey, bet. We use these glass beads. You got any? Country number 2 says, oh, no, we don't, but we'll be back. They go back home, back to their manufacturing warehouse, and they make glass beads. They literally make tons of counterfeit glass beads that were made in a warehouse versus glass beads that were made by nature. Now, the villagers have no way of verifying what's real or fake. So when country number 2 comes back to the island, guess what? Country number 2 can buy everything on the island because they have a ton of glass beads, the unit of value that was used as a dominant form of money on that island. And so by counterfeiting and creating a whole new supply, that particular form of money had no scarcity because it could be created out of thin air. Basically, each individual unit had no value. So scarcity is a really important piece of what makes money good. And we're going to talk about that in our next episode when we go over debt and inflation. But today, we're going to run a couple forms of money through this ringer to see how they stack up in terms of whether or not they're good money. The first example we're going to use is our good old friend who's been around for millennia, gold. Ultimately, gold is really important from a monetary perspective because it has allowed human beings to have a common language in terms of a store of value. It is divisible. You can melt it down, mix it with other metals, create a coin, use that one coin to purchase some bread. You can melt it down again, boil it, put it in a gold bar, and with enough gold bars, you could purchase something large. But the problem is the one trait gold lacks is portability. Ultimately, gold is an extremely heavy metal, and you cannot take it from one place to the next easily. Back when they're just rickety wagons riding along the road from countryside to town, from castle to castle, from village to village, from country to country, ultimately, it took a ton of time. The transaction speed was very slow. There is no way in the modern age can we transact utilizing physical gold because it just doesn't make sense. Today I want to buy something off eBay. Tomorrow I want to purchase something from the store. And the next day I want to buy a house. And the next day I want to buy a car. I'm not going to do all that in gold because it would just take too long. Getting gold from my employer's depository location to my depository location to all the 3 merchants that I just purchased from, that doesn't make sense. So gold fails in terms of the portability test. And poor portability actually creates another risk. And that's the risk of getting jacked. At the end of the day, if you're going from point A to point B with a bunch of gold, you're putting yourself at risk. Someone could steal it from you. So a good form of money needs to be portable. You need to be able to transact over large distances easily. Point number 3, durability. Gold wins on this. It is a metal that lasts in the ground for thousands and thousands of years. We're still digging it up. We found asteroids that have a ton of gold. We're always going to find more gold, even though it's difficult to find. And if you put your gold in the ground, you'd be able to dig it up a century from now and use that same exact gold. It would look exactly the same. Nature would not have been able to erode it. And yes, you can counterfeit gold. JP Morgan Bank got at one point where they realized they had a bunch of gold bars in deposits, but they were nothing but iron wrapped in gold. It's an issue. But even so, they had a test to be able to figure out whether or not it was fake. They just should have done it sooner rather than later. So you look at gold, you could tell whether or not it's gold. There are tests to make sure that it's real. Now, scarcity. Now, we're not talking about absolute scarcity, but it is very difficult to take gold out of the ground, refine it, and utilize it in any way. And even though you can take it out of the ground, there's a lot of processes that slow that process down so that the inventory that exists in the market today stays stable. And you want the unit of account, the money that you use to transact with, to be stable over time. Otherwise, if there's too much of it, just like the glass beads, every single individual unit of account gets that much more useless. Now let's look at how money stacks up on this radar. Divisibility, you got $1 bill, you can go to the store, buy some candy. You got $1 million, you can go to California, like I said, and buy a house. Portability. Now, we've solved this with technology. Nobody purchases large transactions. You're not going to purchase a big corporate building on Fifth Avenue with stacks and stacks of cash. You're instead just going to press a button and you're to digitally move that cash from one account to the other. You're going to reduce one ledger and increase the other. You're going to reduce numbers in one bank account and increase the numbers in the other bank account. Durability. From a durability perspective, the dollar bill is very durable. It can be exchanged over and over and over again. It can touch a lot of grimy human hands and still last. It can withstand the weather to some extent. Ultimately, it has durability for its use case. In recognition, the dollar bill is the most recognized form of currency out there other than gold. Almost everybody on the planet will accept dollars. Now that's changing. Global economic sentiment about the US dollar is changing. But at the end of the day, you take this pretty much anywhere, a merchant is going to accept it. And even if they don't accept it, they're going to recognize it. And it's verifiable. There are ways to tell whether or not the dollar bill you have in your hand is real or fake. Now this brings us to our last point, the scarcity issue. The dollar bill that you utilize on a regular basis does not have true scarcity. It doesn't even have, I would say, a minimum level of scarcity because every single year that you retain it, it loses its value. Say you got $100 for working this year. That $100 is going to be worth 97 next year. It's going to be worth 94 the year after that. It's going to be worth 90 the year after that. Ultimately, the individual value of each dollar bill gets smaller and smaller and smaller over time. And the only reason that happens is because, like the glass beads, more of the dollars are being created out of thin air every single year. And we're going to talk about that in detail and how that affects you in the next video. But please make sure you like and subscribe. Again, Power Over Money is a brand new channel, a brand new community. We're trying to help people build wealth for the right reasons.